I will go ahead and call the City of Portage Planning Commission meeting to order for Monday, January 3rd, 2022. If you would stand and say the pledge with me. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Monroe, could you call roll?
Austin Bonta.
Here.
Tom Sherry.
Here.
Gina Geis-Hurst.
Here.
Sam LeBoy.
Here.
Hortensia Moreno.
Here.
Charles Thompson.
Here.
Luke Weinman. Kevin Witherspoon.
Here.
Denise Little.
Here. We have the mayor here with us tonight, and we have a new member. Welcome. And I'd like to have you swear him in so he can be involved in the entire meeting.
Execute the duties of my office as a member of the Portage Planning Commission to the best of my ability and according to the law, so help me God.
To the best of my ability
And according
to the law,
so help me
so help
God.
me God.
Congratulations.
And then give one to Denise so that the planning commission has a copy and you can pass it. Here we go.
Has everybody had an opportunity to read the minutes from December 6th? And if so, if there are no corrections, may I have a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes?
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second? We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Any reports of officers and committees?
Yeah, Madam Chairman, we will be, Kurt and I will be sending out email correspondence here soon in an attempt to set up a meeting for Planning Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals training with some of the new direction in terms of going virtual. We probably want to talk about that as a group. Would it be better to do a Zoom meeting, or should we hold off when maybe things calm down? I guess defer to the commission members here as to how you would like to proceed. I think it would be doable using Zoom if that's something you would like to do. And if everybody's okay with that, we'll just proceed with trying to set something up here toward the end of the month, and we'll conduct it via a Zoom meeting.
Okay. Is everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Perfect. So we'll be corresponding with both you and the other members of the Board of Zoning Appeals to identify a date and time.
Okay. Would we do that on the day, or we don't have a BZA meeting in January?
It looks like we will be having a BZA meeting in January. We did receive a couple petitions, 2 petitions today. So yes, we will, and the intention at this point is to conduct those meetings via Zoom.
Okay.
So we'll be working as staff with legal counsel and making sure we have everything squared away so that we're doing it correctly.
Okay, sounds good. With the new year, we have election of officers and appointment of legal and executive secretary. Would anybody like to make a motion? We'll do the president, vice president, and then we'll go to counsel and executive secretary. Is there anybody that would like to make a motion?
I'd like to
I'll make
motion
a-
that we continue Denise Little as our president.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. If you'd like to call roll,
Would you like me to call the roll?
yes. Or do you just want to go with a yay?
Okay, so the first is nomination of Denise Little as president of the Plan Commission. Austin Bonta,
Yes.
Tom Cherry,
Yes.
Gina Geis-Hurst,
Yes.
Sam LeBoy,
Yes.
Hortensia Moreno,
Yes.
Charles Thompson,
Yes.
Kevin Witherspoon,
Yes.
Denise Little.
I'll abstain. Do we have a motion for vice president?
Well, I'll make a motion for Austin Bonta to continue in that role.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
If you'd like to call roll once again.
Austin Bonta,
I'll abstain. Yeah, I remember.
Tom Cherry,
Yes.
Gina Geis-Hurst, Sam LeBoy,
Yes.
Hortensia Moreno,
Yes.
Charles Thompson,
Yes.
Kevin Witherspoon,
Yes.
Denise Little.
Yes. Legal counsel and executive secretary.
Can that be one motion for 2 people, or does it have to be?
It can be one motion.
I think it could be one motion.
I would motion for Scott McClure to continue as our legal counsel, and for Kurt Knutson to continue as our as our secretary, executive secretary, or is it AJ who's the executive secretary?
AJ.
AJ, I'm sorry. Sorry, Kurt.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a second?
Austin Bonta,
Yes.
Tom Cherry,
Yes.
Gina Geis-Hurst, Sam LeBoy,
Yes.
Hortensia Moreno,
Yes.
Charles Thompson,
Yes.
Kevin Witherspoon,
Yes.
Denise Little.
Yes.
Madam Chairman,
Congratulations.
we also have appointments that the Plan Commission needs to make to the Board of Zoning Appeals and a Plan Commission appointment to the Development Review Committee.
Okay, I'm on the BZA right now,
Yes.
and so is Austin. Who is
So
the,
I'm the current, as it's ending today, but I'm the current representative from this commission to the BZA. If I'm allowed to speak on it, I would advise not to nominate me for a couple reasons. This is something I've discussed with the mayor. I've been added to the Fire Merit Board, and with those responsibilities, I think that it might be a lot to add the BZA and DRC on. I also feel that it might be very important that we kind of spread that around a little bit, make sure that other members of this body get some experience with those extra boards, if you will.
congratulations.
Well, thank you.
It'll be exciting for you. So we have one appointment from this board.
You have one appointment from this board to the Board of Zoning Appeals. Yes, that's correct.
I am on the BZA. I don't mind going on, but if anybody else is interested in taking that on, I absolutely would understand.
No, you will remain on the BZA. This is the Plan Commission's appointment to the BZA.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, then we need somebody else to step up. It's the most difficult and the most interesting committee that you will ever sit on. But it is probably the hardest committee, other than being mayor.
If I could add to that sales pitch, it takes a lot of discipline, and also you learn a lot about how the city works.
What are the meetings for the BZA?
The Board of Zoning Appeals meetings are the fourth Mondays of the month. There's usually a conflict in December. In May. I think May works out this year, but it's the fourth Mondays of the month, and however, there are a couple meetings that may have to float a day or two because of conflicts with the holiday or holidays.
Are they evenings or afternoons?
Yes, sir.
Same time as we have here.
Okay.
6:30 here at
So I knew
Woodland.
the DRC was afternoons, so. Correct. That's why I asked.
You have a lot of knowledge, if you're willing.
Sure.
Okay, may I have a nomination?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. If you could call roll.
Austin Bonta,
Yes.
Tom Cherry,
Abstain.
Gina Geis-Hurst,
Yes.
Sam LeBoy,
Yes.
Hortensia Moreno,
Yes.
Charles Thompson,
Yes.
Kevin Witherspoon,
Yes.
Denise Little.
Yes. Congratulations. If we could call our first new order of business.
Madam
Do we need a DRC appointment?
I am sorry. Austin, you're,
I am declining if somebody else
Declining
could.
that.
If
Okay.
somebody else would be willing, I would absolutely decline.
AJ, could you give like a description of how that works?
Yes. The DRC is a committee made up primarily of staff. They're the ones who review the applications, meet with the developers or the petitioners. This group, or the Development Review Committee, does meet during the afternoons at 1:30. So it's always been a challenge, to identify somebody. So you have to have a bit of a flexible work schedule to participate in the DRC. The Plan Commission member to the DRC was a decision by this body a number of years ago because as you know, in your rules and procedures, there are certain things that can be approved at DRC. And the Plan Commission at the time felt it was important to have one of their membership part of the DRC so that they could review and then submit reports back to the commission if they felt it's so appropriate. So that's a little bit about the committee, why there's a Plan Commission appointment to it, and in the meeting times. We usually will meet at City Hall, but those are afternoon meetings at 1:30.
Does anybody have any questions that we can answer it to make your decision easier?
They vote on it.
I'm willing to have to work around my work schedule. Right now.
Well, I'll make a motion for Gina Geis-Hurst for the representative of the DRC.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second? If you could call roll?
Yes. Austin Bonta,
Yes.
Tom Cherry,
Yes.
Gina Geis-Hurst, Sam LeBoy,
Yes.
Hortensia Moreno,
Yes.
Charles Thompson,
Yes.
Kevin Witherspoon,
Yes.
Denise Little.
Yes.
Thank you.
Our first order of new business?
Yes. This is new business. This is a public hearing. P0421, Hope Evangelical Lutheran Church, care of Great Lakes Engineering, 6084 Lute Road, Portage, Indiana, seeking primary plat approval for Hope Corner subdivision at 6322 Portage Avenue. Sub contains 2 lots.
Come on up. So, on this case, I think we have a notice issue, unfortunately. Is there anyone in the crowd here to speak in favor or against this petition? Okay, so I think the only thing we can do, and it's not just one, it's unfortunately, I believe it's 2 parcels that are slightly incorrect. The petitioner made an attempt even as late as the 29th to try to get it fixed. And so I think the most prudent course of action would be to call the case as we have, and then continue it to the next month, which will then not require us to have to republish in the paper and or to re-notice the individuals that have already been noticed. That's why we're here tonight, and we're saying, if you do that motion, we are saying when the exact meeting will be next month, and then he can fix the 2 issues that we have for the next month. So I would suggest doing that for this case, and then we could jump down to secondary plat, because it's the same under new business, non-public hearing, and we could continue that also to a date certain of next month, and that would also keep us in line with the notice.
Okay, thank you. May I have a motion to continue?
Continue to next month's regular scheduled meeting.
It's hard with masks. Gina?
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Austin Bonta,
Yes.
Tom Cherry,
Yes.
Gina Geis-Hurst, Sam LeBoy,
Yes.
Hortensia Moreno,
Yes.
Charles Thompson,
Yes.
Kevin Witherspoon,
Yes.
Denise Little.
Yes. We'll see you next month.
Well, hold on, let's call S-04-21, Hope Lutheran Church, care of Great Lakes, for secondary plat approval, and if we could do another motion, as we did, and continue to the next month, they'll be set up correctly for the
February meeting. So I'll make a motion to continue that to next month.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second.
Austin Bonta,
Yes.
Tom Cherry,
Yes.
Gina Geishurst,
Yes.
Sam LeBoy,
Yes.
Hortensia Moreno,
Yes.
Charles Thompson,
Yes.
Kevin Witherspoon,
Yes.
Denise Little.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
P0321, Todd Gore Homes, 5955 Central Avenue, seeking primary plat approval for Cedar Creek subdivision, Phase 4 and 5, on 20 acres south of the current Cedar Creek subdivision. Sub includes 48 lots and 1 outlot.
Good evening.
Good evening. Happy New Year. My name is Todd Leith. I'm here on behalf of the petitioner in this matter. As you'll recall, at the last meeting, we conducted the public hearing, took comments from the public. There were 2 people who spoke. The petition before you is one for a primary plat for the last 2 phases in Cedar Creek subdivision, 48 lots, 20 acres. At that time, I suggested to you that there was a lot of detail that had gone into the planning and so forth. And we had received a letter from staff providing comments of all the detail of that planning, the engineering, if you will. Doodling Group is the design professionals. Charlie Ray is here to assist me tonight, should you have any detailed engineering type questions. Following that public hearing, those 2 people who spoke, I would say, didn't offer any objections to what you're charged with looking at, and that is the stormwater drainage, the traffic, and those kinds of things. There were a lot of questions with regard to why did it take so long to develop since it was rezoned recently in 2018, and why are they offering the lots for sale, if you'll recall those comments. But I reviewed my notes and I didn't see any real hard concrete things that I needed to come and tell you about from that or those comments. What I did come to tell you about is those staff comments that we received prior to the hearing but could not address in a timely manner. I counted those up in bullet points, if you will. There's 23 of them. And on the 21st of December, with the assistance of Mr. Ray from Doodling Group, we provided another set of those detailed comments back to the city and itemized how we were responding to each of those. We also submitted an updated geotechnical report as well, and there's been a lot of discussion with staff and myself, with Mr. Ray and staff as well, as late as today, with regard to how we've addressed those 23 items. And with the exception of some what I would call routine things, in other words, we need to get permits and we need to get a sidewalk waiver, those kinds of things, we've addressed all of the items on that checklist. So with that, I think that I can simply respond to any questions that you might have. I will note that I believe that we left the public hearing open.
We did.
So I will retire to my spot, and you can call and see if there's any other public comments, and I'll respond at that time as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Before I open the public hearing, if there is anybody that does not feel comfortable speaking in public, you can write your comments down and we will make sure that they get into the records. We ask that you come up and speak only once. After everybody has spoken, we will address all the questions that came from our participants. So, and then once we close the public hearing, then we will go ahead and have all those questions answered for you. I now open the public hearing. Is there anybody here to speak for the petitioner? Is there anybody here to speak for the petitioner? Is there anybody here to speak against the petitioner? Is there anybody here to speak against the petitioner? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Any questions from the commission? I believe we only have one outstanding item, which is the sidewalk waiver.
The sidewalk waiver, that's correct.
Gina?
And that was on green eye, right?
Correct. So this is phases 4 and 5, and we've received the sidewalk waiver for the first 3 lots, the first 3 phases. So, but we would still need to go to, I understand the Board of Works grants that.
Any questions? If no questions, may I have a motion?
It will be just one entrance and exit.
So there's a stub street to the south, which would be the secondary exit in the future when that southern parcel is developed.
And the fire department we spoke with.
The fire department's been part of the DRC review, yes.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the primary plat approval contingent upon the sidewalk waiver through the Board of Works.
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second. Gina seconded. If you could call roll.
Austin Bonta,
Yes.
Tom Cherry,
Yes.
Gina Geis-Hurst,
Yes.
Sam LaBoy,
Yes.
Hortensia Moreno,
Yes.
Charles Thompson,
Yes.
Kevin Witherspoon,
Yes.
Denise Little.
Yes,
Outstanding. Thank you very much.
thank you. If you would like to call our next order of new business,
PD 0521, Sarkeesian and Associates, care of Legacy Sign Group, 7933 West Highway 6, Westville, Indiana, seeking a variance from the Sterling Creek Park Final Development Plan, Exhibit C, signs, to allow a monument ground sign to be placed facing Willow Creek Road on the lot at 3645 Willow Creek Road.
good evening. If you could sign in.
Certainly.
My name is, good evening, Madam Board meeting, or board members. My name is Larry Yurko. I represent Legacy Sign Group. Here before you this evening seeking your approval of the placement of the monument sign for our client Sarkeesian, located at 3645 Willow Creek Road. The location of the sign is what we're here tonight requesting your approval for. The size, the square footage, the type of sign complies with city code. It's merely the location of the sign. The development states that this particular lot is not allowed a monument sign that fronts Willow Creek Road, and the location where the sign is permitted would not be seen from passers-by on Willow Creek. Therefore, we're here this evening seeking your approval for the placement of that sign with visibility off of Willow Creek Road. It's a double-sided monument sign that would stand 8 feet in height, It would meet the setback requirement for the city of Portage. It would be internally illuminated, similar to the monument sign to the north that the neighbor has for North Shore Medical. It would not
Is this-
incorporate any LED sign. That is the location there, which is on the west side of the property toward the south end of that building. The architecture of the, one of the questions may be, well, why don't you perhaps look at putting a sign on the building that would front Willow Creek? However, the architecture of the building is preventing that. There's some decorative or some ornamental roof brackets above the windows on the west elevation that would have been a nice area for a wall sign that would be parallel to Willow Creek. However, those brackets are not allowing for signage installation in that area. And then there's a couple stone architectural fins on the building that obstruct visibility coming from the south heading north. So the building mounted sign for Willow Creek exposure is not ideal. Thus the reason why we're seeking that monument placement location.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I will now open the public hearing. Is there anybody here to speak for the petitioner? Is there anybody here to speak for the petitioner? Is there anybody here to speak against the petitioner? Is there anybody here to speak against the petitioner? If not, I will close the public hearing. Kurt, are you going to read the letter from Mr. Cohen?
It's not a letter, it's just the architectural review
Okay.
from the person, and Mr. Cohen did not sign it. He didn't concur with it. He didn't endorse it, I should say.
Okay.
So in my conversation with Mr. Cohen, he's leaving it up to the Planning Commission to grant the variance, just as they have in the past on the budding property.
Okay.
So that's the reason you're acting as basically a quasi-judicial group interpreting the ordinance and granting the variance.
Okay. Did everybody get a printout of where the sign is going so that we can see what he's talking about? Are there any questions from the commission?
I mean, it looks like the positioning is the same as North Shore for the most part, correct?
And there's no way that it would obscure
No,
looking out on Sterling Creek?
correct. The setback would allow for ideal visibility. There'd be no visual obstructions with the sign pulling in or leaving.
Any questions or comments? If not, may I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the variance.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Mr. Monroe, if you could call roll.
Austin Bonta,
Yes.
Tom Cherry,
Yes.
Gina Geis-Hurst,
Yes.
Sam LeBoy,
Yes.
Hortensia Moreno,
Yes.
Charles Thompson,
Yes.
Kevin Witherspoon,
Yes.
Denise Little.
Yes.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Our final old business?
Yes, Z0521, IN Portage LLC, care of DVG Team, Inc., 1155 Troutwine Road, Crown Point, Indiana, requesting a change of zoning from R1 Single Family Residential to C2 Medium and Large Scale Commercial, M2 Medium Density Multifamily, and R4 Single Family Residential for the plus or minus 104 acres that include parcels 64, 06, 30,
Thank you.
100, 0224, .000.016, parcel 64, 06, 30, 100, 015, .000-016, and 64-06-30-100-016, .000-016. This is commonly known as the southeast corner of US Highway 6 and Airport Road.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name's Andy Detro. It's good to see everybody. Happy New Year. Tonight we were tabled in December, and so we're back. We've tried to answer as many questions as we could. In fact, there was 4 specific questions that were asked of us last month, and so we provided that in the handout tonight, and would like to walk through that. I'm not sure if we need to open it or how that works, or if there's a.
You're not a public hearing, so.
Okay, so it's just proceed as, okay. Correct. Thanks.
A continuation of last month.
Yeah, I'm terrible at the process. So what we've done here is, for those of you that remember, right now, Realty Link is in the process of purchasing 104 acres on the southeast corner, as AJ alluded to, of US 6, and right on that southeast corner there. The front 10 acres, roughly 10 to 11 acres, is proposed to be commercial, which will be out parcels consistent with all the other uses along US 6. Just to the south of that, we're proposing an M2 rezoning, which would allow for townhomes, and we'll address that a little bit further. And then we're proposing R4 zoning, which would be single-family residential, which would go all the way from the west side all the way over to the east side, if that makes sense. So, that would bring us to the 104 acres. So just starting out, again, we were tabled on December 6th. Several items were discussed. Those items which we've identified, and if we've missed something, we're happy to talk about it today. But the first one was the M2 zoning, specifically review what was allowable under M2 zoning, if there were any special exception uses, and then remove or agree to those uses that were not consistent with our plan. So we're going to talk about that for a second. The second would be the proposed density as it relates to the comp plan of the M2 zoning. And then the third and the fourth are kind of a lumped sum, but there was concern over providing examples of what the potential townhomes and the single-family homes would look like. And then there was kind of that concern over would there be variation of colors and color patterns and things along those lines. So we've done our best to answer those questions today, and hopefully we will not, I'll try and move briskly. So please feel free to interrupt, ask any questions along the way. So for the first one was the review permitted and special exception uses and remove those uses not consistent. Your zoning, it's the third page in, fourth page in. This is your zoning for M2. Everything that's in permitted uses and special exception uses, we just kind of identified. And then everything that's in red is what we're agreeable to not move forward with. Basically, we just want to do townhomes. And that's what we want the approval for. And that dwelling of multifamily 3 to 16 dwelling units per lot is consistent with our plan. So we've removed some of the other items that were on there. I don't think there was a huge concern over that. I think we just wanted to make sure we weren't doing something that was out of character of what we've talked about once it moves out of this committee. One of the comments was, hey, once it's rezoned, it's rezoned. Let's make sure we're all on the same page here. The next page, which is section 90-3.16, is your development standards for M2 zoning. I'm not going to go through all those. I think the critical point here is we've hired DVG, who's with us tonight. DVG, the plan that has been submitted, which I know this is rezoning, but it's important to see everything, requires no variances at all from your development standards. So we're not going to be going through BZA or any other sort of avenue, because everything that we need to do is in this plan already. So this is really just more of a focal point that we've really tried to task ourselves to make sure that we're adhering to your development standards in M2 and the R4, to be honest. And then number 2, Greg, I'm going to have Greg come up. He can talk a little bit about the comp plan as it relates to our density.
Good evening. Just wanted, the next point, as Andy talked about, is one of the concerns that came up is the M2 and how it relates to the 2009 comp plan and the density. So just want to point to the first map, which is the City of Portage future land use map. The future land use map, as you can see, we've overlaid our site plan on there just to kind of make an easy visual for you. Calls for mixed use across the front. As you see on the bottom, the mixed use is residential with a max of 25% commercial. And then towards the rear, the future land use plan calls for low density residential, which includes 1 to 6 units per acre. That's what the low density calls for. If you flip to the next page, it's important to note the property actually sits in 2 different districts. The north, so if you flip to the second page, you'll see where the orange line goes through. That's actually in the south side district. So the south side district specifically calls for medium density residential, which is actually more dense. It's calling for 6 to 10 units per acre. And then towards the rear, 1 to 6 units per acre. The northern half of the property sits in the US 6 highway corridor district, which calls for a commercial use, which we discussed at the last meeting, obviously is unfortunately not viable, which is why we're proposing what we are today with the mixed use plan. So if you flip to the next page with the charts, the little boxes, I'll kind of walk you through that real quick. If you start up in the one that says airport, the west acreage, if you take the plan and you cut off that 20 acres to the east, that's a total of about 84.12 acres. So we've got 11.62 acres of C2 zoning in there, which accounts for about 13.81%, which is under the comp plan's 25% commercial. If you slide down to the M2, we have 41.22 acres of M2 zoning. And in the mixed use, you know, assuming you're stepping down density, as we talked in the last meeting, from the highway going back, you're at least 6 to 10 units per acre. We're at 7.67. The R4, the single family residential to the rear, we've got a total of 31.28 acres. And there again, the south side district calls for 6 to 10 units per acre. We're well under that at 3.52 units per acre. Slide over to the east properties a little bit quicker because we just have the R4 there. Again, we're calling for 6 to 10 units per acre in the medium density residential in the comp plan, and we're only at 3.95 units per acre. So the one thing to point out here is what the comp plan is calling for. The only way for us to achieve that kind of density would be to go the route of multifamily use and doing 3-story multifamily apartments. So that was not our intent when we came to work on this project, but that was, you know, through our process working with AJ and Kirk, they made it very clear, you know, that that's not desirable. So using townhomes gets us close, but we're still well under the future land use under your comp plan. And then the last box below just combines all of the acreage, so that would be based on 104 acres in total. So I don't know if there's any questions. I'm happy to take them here at this point, or I can keep moving. I know it's a lot of data, but happy to answer any questions. I don't know, Andy, if you want to take over from here. Or...
Yeah, I think the last ones kind of speak for themselves. Denise, one of the comments was concern over the townhomes not all looking the same. So again, we have a national home builder that we've partnered with that we are not at liberty to say who it is, but they have provided all of the materials from this page on, asked that their name be removed as we're still working through our agreements with them. But this is the type of product. Now again, building facades and things like that, that's part of a later discussion, but this is typical of the product that they've been building. So I wanted to at least get this in front of you because we didn't have this material last time. No. Obviously, that was a concern. So to give you an idea of what the M2, this would be a potential townhome facade, and obviously the colors and arrangement and materials would change, but this gives you an idea when we're talking about those blocks that are in that M2 designation. That's what you'd be looking at. The garages would be in a court-style area that would be placed on the back sides of these. So, very successful product nationwide. This company does this all over the U.S. This is their #1 kind of product that they have. The next page is the single-family R4. One of the gentlemen asked if we could, there was concern over the 50-foot lot and what could fit on a 50-foot lot. Every one of these homes that you'll see on here fits on a 50-foot lot. This is their 50-foot lot home. So it gives a multitude of options, 2-story, ranch style, all sorts of options that you can have on a 50-foot lot. The only one that doesn't is the 3-car garage on the second page. And remember, we have a lot of lots that are over 50 feet. That's just our minimum. So they wanted to provide kind of a guide of the type of home and product. And I hope everyone's agreeable. It's a really good-looking product that they build and would be a good addition to the city of Portage. And then, while it doesn't print that well, they did provide an example of potential materials, which is really just roof and the siding and some of brick trims and things that they do on their homes to differentiate. So, to the comment that we don't want every 316 townhomes to all look exactly the same as that facade on the said they've never done. That's not what they do. The residents don't want that. They provide breaks and variation of colors and designs, and it depends if it's public road, private road. They have a lot of different reasoning for why they change those up. So, again, apologize that we didn't have that last meeting. I think it was a good ask on our end for you guys to have asked that of us. Those are the 4 main points. Again, just trying to make sure that we address those concerns. Again, M2 permitted uses, M2 density, examples of the facades of the homes and of the townhomes. And I hope that you guys continue to feel this way. We feel this way, that we've been very transparent through this entire process. We've met with Kurt and AJ on many occasions, and that's how we've arrived at the site plan. It's not a shot in the dark. We've worked really hard on it. We think we've done a good job. We've hired local DVG, to help us so that we're not coming in here for 35 variances on things that you guys wouldn't approve. And again, we're extending Sterling Creek Road all the way from Airport over to Wolf. We're not asking for $1 from the city. We're not asking for an incentive agreement. We're going to build that road to the city's designation, and then we're going to dedicate that road back over. So we're not asking for any assistance. We're just trying to figure out how to get to the finish line. And then obviously, when you take all of these home values, you're going to add about $150 million worth of taxable revenue back into the, or of value, I should say, back into the community. And that not only helps for the city, but it also helps all of those retailers up and down US 6. And so we think we've put together a really nice plan and something that we're hopeful that you guys are favorable of. That was long, sorry.
No, it's
Just
not
wanted to
long.
run through it and make sure we addressed everything. Any questions that we can answer? Otherwise,
That completes everything?
that's it.
Okay.
I mean, I could stay up here, but
Okay. Any questions?
Sorry. AJ, has it happened before where we had a petitioner who wasn't able to say who their partner was? I guess like recently, I don't remember that happening very often where people come and they say that they've got a partner who they can't say who it is. I'm not trying to say there's anything wrong with that situation. I don't know because you guys don't say, but I just feel like that would create a hard time to verify the quality of that partner's work if we don't know who the partner is.
Yeah, I don't think it's an issue at this point. I just think it's something to weigh when a packet of information is presented to you, and it's the paper is printed on, right? So I think you just need to keep in mind all of those facts when you're making a decision.
yeah, and it's just a confidentiality circumstance where that group doesn't allow, they represent themselves. They don't allow the developer to do that. It's like when I build a shopping center. You can say you're building TJ Maxx, and they'll have the TJ Maxx sign up behind me, but I'm not allowed to say it's TJ Maxx. So, very common.
Not
for
to
us.
jump on before Austin, but is there this development somewhere else that we can look at?
Yes, we provided those.
I sent them to Sue. I can send them to if you'd like to.
Yeah.
We've got a couple locations. They are in the greater Chicagoland market. That we can send to.
But not Indiana,
It's in process here, but yeah, not built, and they can go.
in Indiana. Okay, go ahead, Austin.
I was going to say, you listed the zoning and the things you want to do and not do, but when it comes to the actual zoning, if we send this to the city council that we'd like this to be rezoned, and then if they were to vote yes, we don't really have control to make sure that they only build townhomes, or what would be the mechanism for that? I mean, I understand they're saying it at their word, that's what they want to do, but once it becomes M2, or once it becomes R4, what is the negotiation left? My understanding is that there isn't. Is that different?
Counselor, do you want to take that one?
Well, on the M2, they've restricted out certain things, but they left in, parks and recreation, residential dwelling, multifamily, 3 to 16. So that would be the only thing allowed left in M2 to be utilized. Correct me if I'm wrong, but do I see a similar pull out of R4? I don't think so, correct?
R4 is just single-family residential.
Yeah,
So, that's,
so the only restriction would be on page, 4 pages into their 4 pages into the handout. That's their proposed commitments. Those would be written commitments for potential rezone for the M2, but as far as the C2 or the R4, then our code is what's our code.
yeah, and if you were to, and I don't know how it works, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we're looking at doing townhome products. So if you make a recommendation to move forward with an M2 with the restriction of townhome only, that's what we're willing to agree to. That's what we're reflecting. So I don't know how that works, but
You're asking for that to be like approved with a contingency that the
No,
rezoning.
it's not a contingent. It'd be a written commitment on the rezone that the city council would have to approve, and that written commitment would be either what's redacted out of the M2 zoning district that we have in our code, or exactly what we're committing to as far as being utilized.
that's right.
And the reason why I'm being particular is that it's actually a written document attached to the zoning ordinance that gets recorded along with it all, so it's there in perpetuity as
And,
what's been
that's a
approved.
non-issue for us. We're happy to do it.
And then as far as this goes, this isn't really a change then from what you proposed at the last meeting. This is really more just further explanation of what you guys want to do and why. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes. Answering the questions posed from the last meeting.
Gotcha.
I have a question, well, two of them actually. How many examples of the materials that you provided us with?
Yes.
There's many brick examples, but there's none displayed on any of the homes.
Yeah, well, those are their standard homes. Again, they'll come through, I mean, we're at rezoning. We still have site plan approval, and then they'll have building permit and that approval process that they'll go through. The home builder will be presenting, and then they'll have to adhere to all of your standards. So they haven't done a specific, this is examples of homes that they build. That's why they gave the palette of materials as well, so they could kind of see, they have to build the different standards across the entire country. Again, this is it's not a random home builder. It's a national home builder, very accredited, very, very high reputation. We're just not at that point. So it's not a rope-a-dope. It's just kind of us trying to.
No accusation made, just want to make sure we understood that we don't actually know
Yeah.
who the builder is or much about them.
Yeah.
Because we don't know who they are.
I do think, yeah.
Yeah.
And I know there was a concern regarding the M2, how many apartments were going to be in each building, and has there been any?
No, I mean, our plan, go ahead.
Yeah, so the townhomes in the M2 district calls for, per ordinance that is, calls for between 3 and 16 units per lot. So we are adhering to that. So we are adhering to ordinance, and that's what is shown on the site plan. And so that there will be no variance for that.
The one thing I want to reiterate is that when you're saying unit per acre.
Per lot. That's
Per
how your
lot.
ordinance reads, 3 to 16
No, I'm
units.
saying that when you say here
The
that
density?
you have 1 to 6 per acre, that's not 1 to 6 units on an acre. That acreage includes all your streets, your drainage, your roads.
Yeah, it's the density calculation that's typical
Correct.
of every density calculation in an ordinance.
But it's not on an acre, a true acre.
Correct. Yeah, the other, what really governs it as far as, to equate to your question, it goes to your ordinance of the 3 to 16 units per lot.
But that's what you're asking for. Right now, we're 4 to 10. For
Yeah,
that,
in the comp plan,
in the M2,
The comp plan allows 6 to 10.
6 to 10.
yeah, I mean, we're stating that we are providing the density per your comp plan, which is a separate calculation, and we're also adhering to your ordinance, which is different language and different calculation, if you will. So they're not, it's apples and oranges, is really what it is. But we're adhering to your ordinance or your comp plan in each of those calculations. If that makes sense.
Any other questions?
The M2 acreage, why is that so much larger than the homes and that's my biggest concern.
Is the size of the acreage or the amount of the homes or the?
Yeah. So that's not half, but close to half. Why is it such a large parcel that you want to change to M2?
Simply because of demand. We're seeing that kind of demand in a lot of other developments that are being done by this builder, and we're trying to hit with a price point that matches 2 different segments. So the R4 allows for a price point of X, all right, and then the other one allows for a price point of the other. So Staff is aware of who our home builder is. We just can't publicly state who the home builder is, just FYI. I guess I didn't mention that last week.
I do have some questions. AJ or Kurt, I'm not sure who would answer this, but I have the M2 and the R4 here, and it doesn't state any brick requirements on here.
Correct.
So that means that if we give them the variance that he wants, or not the variance, I'm sorry, wrong meeting. If we give the recommendation to the city council, we would have to include brick. Because none of his renderings show brick.
The code doesn't require brick.
It does not.
Correct.
Okay. So we'd have to take care of that. Another question I have would...
And to be clear, the taking care of that would have to be, because I think there's probably a few other standards that you're used to seeing that
Correct.
aren't in these 2 zoning districts. I don't think facade material is the only issue.
No, I don't, that was just one of my questions.
But, and then also that would take a commitment, which would mean they would have to agree to it. And then this board would have to send up a favorable recommendation. That's the difference between a written commitment and a contingent approval.
Correct.
When I say written commitment, it's not this board saying, I will approve, and here's your contingencies. It's, I will approve if you will enter into this written commitment on the rezone. Then they have to say yes, and then we go up the process. I know it's a slight jog in what we normally do, but that's the difference between a rezone written commitment and a plan commission approval that's contingent upon an additional condition.
Correct. So it's not just an easy recommendation.
It's a written commitment that we would actually have to write and make sure that we all agree that that's what it means and that's what it says and that's what we're doing.
Under commercial, why are you only at the 11%? What was your reasoning behind that?
We're at 13.81, 11 over the entire, well, that's when you add in the Wolf property, but if you take the original 84 acres, we're at 13.81. So in the past, we were under contract with the family to do a larger shopping center. Unfortunately, that's what we predominantly have been in the business of, is shopping center development. That's what originally brought us to this site. Unfortunately, the tenants that you would want to see, that we would want to bring, that we typically develop for, we're not interested and continue to not be interested in moving forward in the market at this time. Citing cannibalization from stores in Merrillville, Valpo, and some other markets. So we've tried to go down that road in the past, which would have allowed for more of a traditional shopping center.
See, and that's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid that you're not going to bring, we have 3 lots, and you say that they are restaurants.
We will actually have roughly about 5 out parcels when
Okay,
it's all
you're
said
only
and done.
showing 3 though, right?
Yeah, those are the only ones that we've laid anything on at this
Okay.
point.
I'm afraid those are gonna end up as fast food restaurants. And what the population in Portage, if you've done a research with them, is they want quality. They want,
Oh, yeah.
so
Yeah.
is that the type of restaurant
I
you're
mean,
looking?
we have interest from several users, but I mean, we haven't made any commitments to anybody at this point on what we're doing. But yeah, I mean, we would like to see a sit-down restaurant. We'd like to see a lot of the things that we're hearing from people saying that they want in the community. I mean, listen, we're here all the time, right? We're hearing what people are saying. But we don't have any commitments either way at this point. I'd love to tell you that I've got X, Y, and Z already lined up and they're ready to come out of the ground, but I don't have that yet.
Okay. Would your townhouses will they have an HOA?
Yes.
Will you work to have your HOA approved for FHA financing? Because you have to have a certain percentage of your units sold.
I'm not sure. That would be on the builder.
Well, that's a huge commitment, because probably the majority of our people in this price range and this size are going to be FHA. And if you do not have that HOA approved with a certain number of units sold, you can't sell FHA or VA.
Yeah, I don't have an answer on that.
I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's a huge hurdle that you would have to go over. Will you build as units are sold, or will you build out?
They will build, they will take them down, and at least the way our deal is structured is we will deliver them lots, and they will build on those lots, so X lots per quarter as we build out the entire
So you would not build out from the very beginning?
We would not build 505 homes and townhomes out of the gate with a lot of, that would flood the market and that would create stagnation. So it's based on how that, so they would build typically their show houses, right? Their homes.
Their
that
model
would come in.
homes.
Right. And then they would go and start selling, and then we would be delivering lots. They would be building the homes.
And where do you see the price ranges coming in on these?
Well, I think townhomes, and I can't hold for them, because again, the way we're structured is we do all of the horizontal, they do all the vertical on the housing side. But you're probably in that 250 range, somewhere in that range. And it might be less, I'm not sure. I don't have that number. But that's what we're seeing in other markets.
Chicago market?
Yeah.
What made you extend the M2 down past on the low density line on the future use map?
Yeah, part of that was, we've got to extend Sterling Creek Road all the way to the east, from Airport over to Wolf. That's the road running through that separates the M2 and the R4. That'll be a public road. So it was what's that?
The other piece too, that just to point out, is that does sit in the South Side District, which that's a medium, that's all medium density, which is 6 to 10 units per acre. So even though the future land use plan calls for 1 to 6 units per acre, it's still the south side district calls for 6 to 10. So it still does, we still fall in that window of 6 to 10 units per acre.
Was your question answered?
I guess there's some, maybe
Yeah, there's two that's why we provided both, because there's two different.
What about the backyards in your townhouses and your single family? What size backyard are you looking at there being?
I don't have the dimensions, but on townhomes, there really is no backyard because they back into that court structure. So they have more of a front yard, if that makes sense, based on here. And then all these. Do you have any answer on that, Doug? What the depths are? I guess we would be more like, what are the depths of the lots? I'm not sure.
It's kind of hard to determine because the gray that we show you here is, building setback. So your development can fit all in this gray, even though the house essentially will just fit in that little front yard portion. So if you want me to say backyard, I would probably say 50, 60 feet, give or take, but it's kind of dependent on the size of house they build and where they put it, in which lot, and where they put it in relation to the front yard setback.
Okay, so if you're saying a 50-foot backyard, we have a...
you can't take that 50-foot mark at verbatim because against the house size. The house
correct, but we've got... I've got too many here. I'm sorry. Okay, so we've got 30 and we've got 50. So that's 80. And the depth should be about 120 if we have 6,000 square feet per
each
unit.
lot meets code, so a lot of these lots are 120, 124.
Correct.
Feet, yeah.
So, yeah, that doesn't leave much for any swimming pools, larger
No,
decks.
actually, these lots, I think they could fit a swimming pool quite nicely. Again, it depends on the depth of the house.
Correct.
These 120 foot lot lengthwise or depthwise is pretty common even in your R1 zoning districts where it's bigger lot single family.
Right.
So, and these houses that they're proposing, I would not say are as deep. So the backyard is probably more than that.
But they have 30 more foot of frontage to spread the house out in the front.
Say that again?
They have 30 more, our lots are 80 feet.
Correct.
So we're asking, that's 30 feet wider. With a 5 foot side yard setback.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to drive your truck back there to build a deck or a swimming pool, you can't drive unless you get permission from your neighbor. Because we only have 5 feet.
There is access points in the rear here and other places to access things like that.
Not in the square to the right.
I think a lot of that can come in the subdivision part where we start getting into easements and drainage utility easements. Who get what rights there are for things like that to get put back there, and that can be taken into consideration. Greg said most equipment can actually get in within the 10
A 5 foot, so I'm driving in my flowers.
Well, the side yard setback is 5 yard on both sides, that's 10 foot total.
On each side, 5 feet on each side.
So that's 10 feet total.
No, you can't drive a car on 5 feet.
You can drive it in 10.
Right.
The side yard
But you'd
setback.
have to drive on your neighbor's yard.
You can drive a skid steer through, small skid steer.
The side yard setbacks are 5 foot on each person's lot.
Correct.
That is a building setback.
Correct.
Yes. And typically there'll be easements in there that give rights for equipment to get through.
Not for private equipment. It's for like NIPSCO and utilities and stuff, but not for private people. What if my neighbor has a fence?
I think Fetz is a subdivision. I don't know if I can get into that right now. I don't know if I have that.
I think that's all mine. Just a comment, this development scares me. I mean, if you're building 300 some townhouses, the 4-unit looks really pretty, but when we go to 6 to 7, where are they gonna barbecue? In their front yards? Because they have no backyard?
I mean, they have garages and they've got parking areas in the back where they would, I'm trying to understand the question. Where would they barbecue? Townhomes typically, I mean, some have backyards, some don't. It depends on where the garages are located, and there's lots of different product for townhomes.
Okay. Yeah, this.
There's some examples you can drive and you'll see people have barbecue pits sitting out, and there's, I mean, these are built. It's not a new product. It's
Okay,
something you guys
but
can-
only in Chicago, and I'm sorry.
No, nationwide. I'm just trying to,
Okay.
yeah, they're
But
built
not-
all over, but I'm trying to think of something that's close for you that
Yeah.
you could get to. Yeah, it's probably an hour, 45 minutes away.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know, it scares me, I think it's too dense. I don't see the real estate market, especially in the resale. I think it would be difficult to maintain, and I think people may just leave if they can't sell their unit and after they've lived there. I'm sorry, it just scares me.
That's okay. I mean, it's an opinion. We feel very differently on that. It's the hottest real estate market in the country, and National Home Builder who does 80,000 of these a year, and they feel extremely confident on what they can deliver, and the resale on these has never been better, and so we feel differently on that.
Okay. Any other questions?
The research that you stated, done as to the need of these homes, where was the research in what areas? Because we don't have, Northwest Indiana has normal yards, and they're definitely too congested.
The townhomes are a more unique product than what you guys have in the market right now. But the R4 is seen all over, and the townhome, again, it's all about price point. A lot of it's price point, and I know density's been a conversation, but price point is also a conversation. And making sure that we can provide price points for varying levels of income is important as well. So that's why, otherwise it all becomes kind of the same product throughout the whole project.
The M2, we do have in our codes, but that is all in the Garrington area, where we have older homes from the 20s, 30s, and 40s, and 50s, not in the homes that we've done in the past 30 years.
I agree.
So, it's we have these because we have to take care of the people that have these lots that are existing.
Yeah, I really appreciate some of the work that's gone into this. I know that it's been a process, but the thing is that, kind of as already noted, there isn't a change from the last meeting. We're just getting more like clarification, and not to say it too boldly, but I already knew that at the last meeting, so I appreciate it being explained more, but my concerns are not eased. I think that this is a very big jump going from R1 to R4, going from R1 in a bigger case to M2. I just don't think that we're getting enough out of that as a city for this to be a worthwhile rezone. I would make a motion that we send an unfavorable recommendation to the City Council regarding this rezone.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I will second.
We have a second.
Can you restate that?
I'm motioning that we do a unfavorable recommendation to the City Council. So we don't decide rezoning, the City Council does. And so what happens is they come here first for the public hearing. It got extended because we needed to finish up some of this. What we do is we either tell the City Council we believe this is a good idea based on the city's criteria for a rezone, or we say that it's a bad idea based on the city's criteria for a rezone. I'm proposing that this is a bad idea based on the city's criteria for this to be rezoned. given the comp plan and some of the issues that come with the rezoning here.
May I have a second? Oh, I do have a second. Okay.
Austin Bonta,
Yes.
Tom Sherry,
Yes.
Gina Geis-Hurst,
Yes.
Sam LeBoy,
Yes.
Hortensia Moreno,
Yes.
Charles Thompson,
Yes.
Kevin Witherspoon,
Yes.
Denise Little.
Yes. Is there any old business to come before the board?
I believe that's all we have, Madam Chairman.
If not, may I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor say yay.
Yay.
Yay. Thank you.